What's up guys, Nimrod here and welcome back to another Grand Theft Auto Online video. In today's video we will be fully covering the import and the export process and how you can successfully deliver these vehicles with zero damage. Now there are multiple methods for both importing and exporting, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Now the first thing we are going to be covering is the exporting, which is the selling of the vehicles. Now in the background gameplay here, if you notice the player list being displayed earlier, you could see that we are in a public lobby, and that is the first method I will cover, is if you are selling vehicles in a public lobby. Now, it's sort of in your favor to sell in a public lobby. Not the best way to do it, but it is in your favor somewhat. And that is because when there are a certain amount of players in the lobby, the game will not spawn enemy NPCs to chase you in cars or to chase you in helicopters and shooting at you. Not only is it a nuisance because they're trying to kill you, it is also a nuisance because you're trying to deliver these vehicles with zero damage. And when they're shooting at you, somehow they can 360 and no-scope your ass into another dimension, and while they're at it, add $3,000 worth of damage. So with this DLC, Rockstar's really altered the NPCs. The drivers seem to purposely try to T-bone you more than they ever have before, and on top of that, the enemy NPCs are god with their precision, and it's just really inconvenient for us. So again, if you're in a public lobby with maybe 4 or 5 other players, don't consider it a trashed lobby that you need to go and get rid of and find another one, because the odds are that the 4 or 5 players, hopefully they are kind and they won't try to mess with your stuff. And because they're in the lobby, the game wants to sort of make it easier on you, and they want to go ahead and not spawn in those NPCs. But moving on to, if you are able to go ahead and find a solo public lobby, if you pay attention to the gameplay now, and I'll actually zoom in on it once it pops up, here we are delivering vehicles, me and my friend, and our default commission that we are expected to make is $75,000. And if you zoom in on the player list, here you have the 2 yellow CEOs and the 1 blue CEO. Now the 2 yellows are me and my friend, and the 1 blue is our other friend. And the reason we have done this is we have gotten ourselves into our own solo public lobby, and we had the amount of players to sell the vehicles. So in this particular instance, we are selling 2 vehicles, and we had a +1 join our lobby, that being our other friend. And what we have him do is become his own CEO. Now, if you're in a solo public lobby and you have your CEO selling and you have another friend become a CEO, the NPCs will also not attack you. They will not spawn. Again, no cars, no helicopters. So that is another method. And you see we actually delivered it with 0 damage because we had our other friend become a CEO. Now sometimes the game won't always allow this to work, so we're going to go ahead and cover if you are in a lobby and the NPCs actually spawn and they come after you. Now in the background gameplay here, we are selling 3 vehicles, and the expected commission for my friend to make is $180,000. Now, we weren't in a lobby to where the NPCs would not spawn. As you can see on the radar, they actually spawned right there, and we already have suffered some damage, but again, this guide is to minimize the damage. So what you want to do when the NPCs actually spawn is you want to exit your vehicles in like a building or in an alley behind a building or something like that. And what a lot of people don't know is that these enemies actually spawn in waves. Now I remember when I first started importing and exporting vehicles, I went ahead and assumed that they would just keep on coming, so I would try to outrun them, and that would suffer me around $10,000 worth of damages on the car that I was selling or buying. Now, this is actually incorrect, as I've stated earlier, that they actually spawn in waves, and the waves depend on the amount of vehicles and the range of vehicles and what the value is, so you'll never truly know, but it should never be over 5. You should never get over 5 waves of enemies. So, sorry I got a little distracted there trying to explain that, But what you want to do is pull off, like I said, into an alley behind a building or something like that, and you will want to destroy the first wave that comes and wait a moment. And if the wave does not come, have one of your players go ahead and get into one of their vehicles and then exit the vehicle. And what that should do, like you just saw there, it said that Silence collected a vehicle, and when he did that, it spawned the next wave of enemies. And you want to do that over and over until the waves are done. It's usually 3 to 5, like I stated before. And after that, you should be able to go inside your vehicle and go and deliver them with very minimal damage. You see here, we had lost around $1,000, which is not a lot at all, especially for having a few waves of NPCs coming after us. But that is easily how you can go ahead and deliver exported vehicles with 0 damage. And of course, after you want to get rid of the NPCs, you want to drive somewhat normally. You don't want to gun it, you don't want to mess anything up. You want to make sure that you are avoiding the NPCs and you don't want them to hit you. And we actually ended up delivering these with very minimal damage, so that is good. And you are set for the rest of this mission. No more NPCs are coming after you. Those waves are it. That is done. Now, there are 2 particular missions that deserve their own address with their very own specific ways of completing them with 0 damage. And those are the missions where the car you have to take is being chased by police because a knucklehead decided to drive away. Now, I briefly mentioned this in my very first video I did on the Import-Export DLC, but since then I have come across a much easier way of approaching these missions and being able to actually retrieve these vehicles with 0 damage. And if you paid attention to the gameplay there, the vehicle was halfway across the map, and I actually end up driving all the way back in to Los Santos to find the vehicle. And to my surprise, as well as the friends that were with me, the vehicle actually stopped. The guy was just standing right next to the vehicle, and you actually see it in the gameplay after this time lapse is over. He was standing next to the vehicle, so I popped him in the head and called Lester, and the vehicle damage was set to 0. So from there on out, your methods revert back to the basics, where you just drive carefully and be aware of your surroundings as well as the NPCs, and you should be golden to go ahead and deliver the vehicle. So back a rundown how to get 0 damage on the missions where the cops are chasing the vehicle and he is driving like a madman. All you have to do is idle and actually wait for the vehicle to make basically a lap around, let's say, halfway across the map, if not all the way across the map. And you could just sit and watch the vehicle on the radar and wait until it stops. It is very time consuming, but if this vehicle is one you need for a collection, it is completely worth it. It is worth the, I'd say, around 10-minute wait for you to wait for the vehicle to stop and go ahead and then retrieve it. And drive like an NPC, be careful, especially around intersections. That's something I need to mention. Be careful around the intersections throughout all the Import-Export DLC stuff, whether you're stealing the vehicle or going to sell it, because the intersections are probably the most dangerous for NPCs to try to cut you off or turn in front of you. The next mission that deserves its own little specific way of getting 0 damage is where you are tasked to get a cargo bob and actually go and retrieve the vehicle off of a barge. This mission is pretty difficult in itself, as you have to go and retrieve the vehicle when you have NPCs trying to shoot you down. So what I go ahead and do is actually land the cargo bob on the land little piece that is next to the barge, and I snipe them or I launch RPGs on the barge that the vehicle is not located. Now, if it is night and it is snowing, I highly recommend using the night vision like I did. Even with that, I could barely see them, so I imagine it's pretty difficult to see them without it. But after you take them out, go ahead and jump back into the cargo bob and pick the vehicle up. Now, this part is pretty difficult because every time I've done this mission, I have helicopters come after me and try to get the vehicle and try to shoot me down. I don't know if the methods stated previously in the video apply to this mission, but just in case they don't, we're going to go ahead and walk through what to do. So what you will do is you will pick up the vehicle and you will try to get it to the closest land. I don't recommend taking it to the island. I highly recommend taking it to the closest main land, main island of the map, and dropping it off there, and try to drop it to where it doesn't suffer any damage. When I dropped this one, it suffers like $700, which I was alright with because I have that money. But you want to do that fairly quickly before the helicopters actually spawn in, as you see them lighting my shit up now. But you want to drop the vehicle and go ahead and immediately jump and go as far away from the vehicle as you can. Now after you do that, you can either land the helicopter and shoot them with a minigun like I do, or you can land the cargo bob and just do whatever you can. Use a homing launcher, an RPG, a grenade launcher if you're that talented. But the objective here is to get rid of the helicopters. Now there are, I think I had 3 waves, so the wave whole deal that we covered earlier on in the video does apply. Should be no more than 5, no less than 3. But after you do that, you should be golden. No more waves coming after you, nobody chasing you, so go ahead and hop into the exported vehicle and try to drive it to your garage. But again, be careful, drive aware of the NPCs around you, and try not to wreck. If you're in this location, which I am in, do take note that the little barrier you have to hit adds damage. So I wasn't patient and waiting for it to go up, so you might want to, just in case. You see now I have $1,008 worth of damage. But those are the tips for getting 0 damage or the minimal damage when you are importing and exporting vehicles. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope it helped, and be sure to support the video with a like, as well as subscribe if you're in for more videos on Grand Theft Auto 5 news, DLC,